Hello, good morning and welcome to another Monday afternoon live stream. It's not morning. We've got a very special guest here today. I've got Adam, who I'm going to introduce you to in a minute. He's going to be talking about how he's changed from a social media cynic into a complete social media convert and how he's transformed his business using social media. But it didn't start off that way. So he's going to be sharing his tips. As always, if you're watching this live, please do say hello in the comments. Let us know who you are, promote your business, and please ask any questions throughout this live stream. If you could give this video a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. And if you're watching on YouTube, please do subscribe to my channel for lots of social media tips and advice every single week. So for those that don't know you, oh, that was a good echo. For those that don't know you, I'm Bex from Social Media Executive, and I train businesses how to effectively use social media. Oh, hi, Amanda. Thanks for saying hello. Hello, Amanda from Redwood Copy. She actually writes these videos for me, puts them into blogs for us all. So, Adam, let me hand over to you, my lovely guest for today. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Bex, and thanks for having me on. I'm Adam Burt. I'm the Managing Director of Northern Powerhouse Media, and we specialise in creating media content for businesses online. So I'm a commercial photographer. We have an amazing team of creatives who are videographers, live streaming specialists, and we also do audio production, including podcast production as well. So that's our little suite of products.
So lots of digital gems in there. So really, you are all over the digital media sector, aren't you? But your journey into social media didn't start off quite how you'd anticipated, did it?
No, I run another business as well, which is in events, and that's quite an old business, been around for 15 years or so. And we've, throughout that journey of that company, particularly in the early days, we really struggled to get a handle on how our digital media strategy would work best for us. And we went through lots of different ways of trying to get as much bang for our buck as we possibly could. Lots and lots of failures, lots of upset people at the end of the month when social media strategy isn't working. And over time, we've crafted it and kept trying. And now with that experience and that knowledge behind us, particularly with the Northern Powerhouse Media brand, we're really sort of seeing a massive difference and yield in terms of our strategy online, both in terms of digital creative marketing and socials.
So go on, tell us how you started off. What were those main mistakes then that you made?
I think at the beginning, like anyone, I think particularly back in, when was it, 2007, 2008, there was no such thing as a social media strategy. Certainly not to me, there wasn't anyway. I mean, it was just, there was Facebook and there was Twitter pretty much around then. And the way in which we interacted with Facebook and Twitter was, we didn't really realize at that point the potential of our marketing reach by using social media platforms. So I use social media personally, for socials. But at the time, making that jump from personal social media activity to business, I always had a bit of a sort of like stumbling block or like a block in terms of making that change, because I felt like I couldn't really be myself when I was broadcasting as my business. I always felt like I had to be, the business and with the business narrative, business wrestling, rather than be myself. And I think that was the first mistake that we really sort of made, is that rather than posting badly, we just didn't post enough, generally speaking.
Okay. So I think was it quite formal as well? Was it also like sort of corporate? Exactly. This is what we do. Yeah.
Exactly. Look at this link. Check
out. Yeah.
And it just wasn't frequent enough. I think that was the main thing. And I think one of the first things that I've really learned over the time we've been doing it is just show up no matter what. Make sure you're posting regularly. And that's what we didn't do back in the early days. Is that, unless we felt like there was something very specific going on, we just wouldn't post. And actually, if you look through our timeline, you'd look and you'd see, there was very little activity at all. And the activity that we did put out, it wasn't very engaged stuff. It was passing over a lot of people's heads without a lot of interest. So that was the first thing that we had to sort of nail down into.
How often were you posting, would you say, early on?
I would say at the beginning, it could have been as bad at times once every couple of weeks or once every 3 weeks. It was really, really infrequent. And then if there was something exciting going on, we might have posted a little bit more frequently. But there was no real strategy. It was ad hoc. It was like whenever anyone in the office remembered to do it, it was, nobody really took responsibility or ownership of our social media strategy. So it was kind of like nobody's job. And so nobody really wanted to be responsible for it, because what if it didn't work, or if it was poor quality content, or someone got something wrong, or whatever, So it kind of got left in the corner. People weren't particularly interested by it. And it became a low priority for us. We then engaged. Sorry, Karen.
Is that then, do you think, because you were quite a big cynic of it at that time as well? You didn't see the value in it?
Yeah, as the leader of the company, I think if I'd have had more belief in it, then I would have obviously impressed the importance on everybody else and put a more robust strategy in place. But I think at the time, for a long time as well, we just didn't put enough importance on it, and we maybe sort of put more of an emphasis on other areas of our marketing strategy instead, and trying to get the most out of all of it. And I think actually, hindsight's obviously wonderful, but having investment both financially and in terms of your time and resource into a multitude of different marketing activities is probably what I would say is the most important thing I've learned over the years, in that there's no golden bullet here. There's no, if you do this, it will be the most successful marketing activity you ever do. I've found that what you need is a very broad marketing profile, ranging from socials to paid PPC or whatever on Google, to maybe exhibitions or maybe print or whatever it might be. Every business is different, but just choosing one avenue and sticking to that, I feel, was a big mistake, particularly when you don't know what you're doing. You don't target particularly well as well. It's just broad, and we wasted a lot of money, I think, on paid ads in those early days by not really
doing organic posts maybe once every couple of weeks, and then you were putting a load of money behind your paid ads, were you?
Well, actually, at the beginning, I don't think we put enough money behind it, because it was just, it's not going to work, so let's put 50 quid in it or whatever, and it just wasn't enough of an investment to really test it properly. Now we know different. Now we know you have to spend more in order to have more of an impact, and therefore get more of a return on your investment.
Yeah, you do. And it's really true. I mean, I'm running Facebook ads for my special days of the year wall planner. And again, it's the first time I've ever produced this product, but I know that this year I won't make any money on it, because most of it will be spent testing ads and, testing what's working, what's not working, what's click through. And you've got to go through that process as a business, haven't you? You've got to put money in. You can't expect a return on investment straight away. If
it was really easy, then everyone would do it. And
exactly. Yeah.
And actually, you need to get involved with people. One thing that we've done is we did it all in-house at the beginning, and over the years, in every element of our digital marketing strategy, we've outsourced it to specialists.
Okay.
And that's a massive difference, because we're not all amazing at everything, and the best thing you can do is get specialists in. And I sort of say this about most of our sort of outsourced specialists, whether it be an accountant or a media specialist or whatever, they'll probably save you what they cost you, at least. A good specialist in anything. They know what they're doing better than you do. They won't make the mistakes, which are generally costly, that you will, particularly as you're learning. And when you're just feeling your way on something, you're never going to stumble across the perfect formula on your targeted Facebook ads, for example. You're not going to accidentally get that right. You need somebody who knows what they're doing in order to get that right. So finding the right specialist is really important. And I think it's fair to say in those early days, we didn't make the great decisions in terms of bringing the right people on board, because we didn't want to spend too much money or whatever it was at the time. And so that reinforced my cynicism, I suppose, because actually when we started outsourcing, still didn't really improve that much. And I felt like I was just burning £5 notes.
That's interesting. Because and again, Amanda said she's just put in the chat that she calls social media posting without a strategy or not knowing who your customers, spray and pray. And I think that's how a lot of businesses start, don't they? They just think, right, I've got this fantastic business. Let's put it on social media. It's free.
Yeah.
And let's just wait for all the business to come
certainly Facebook particularly closes the loopholes over the years, and they get their algorithms more and more clever and all the rest of it. There were certain times I remember in the past where a new feature would come out on Facebook. I remember when Facebook Live came out, and every time you went live on your Facebook, every single person who followed your business would get a notification. And we did so well off the back of that, and then they closed the loophole because you weren't paying for that.
I mean, we're live today, so we're going live on Facebook as well as YouTube today. And when I first started doing this 2 years ago, again, I'd get quite a lot of viewers going, "Oh, do live," but they don't like long live videos.
They don't make a song and dance of it in the way that they used to when it was a new feature. But so you just got to move with it in that sense. You need a good specialist who knows how to maximize your investment. Let's put it that way. At the end of the day, that's what it is. Every bit of marketing you do, you need it to be measurable, and you need to measure that return on it. That's how my mind works anyway. And that spray and pray kind of strategy where you're just going to try it out, see what happens, you're only ever going to be disappointed because you're throwing money at something which hasn't been studied, isn't on the back of any evidence, and isn't applied by someone who knows what they're doing. So how can you possibly expect that to succeed as a strategy? Whereas a well-planned out strategy with expertise and experience, investment of the right amount of money into that campaign, you're far more likely to get better results. And that's what we realized far too late, but that we did eventually realize that was the case. And actually,
so what was the turning point when you thought, this really isn't working, we're just wasting time and money here?
I don't think there was a specific moment in time. I think it was over a gradual period where we just realized there was no engagement on posts. No one was really sort of coming to us and saying, I've seen you on social media. And I think the big change for us actually was, rather than we always concentrate on Facebook primarily. That was our target audience. We've realized over time that probably wasn't the right way to go, and we made the switch over to Instagram and started doing paid ads on Instagram and campaigns on Instagram, and the yield was so much greater. We spent a lot of time designing our homepage and our highlights and all that kind of stuff, and made it optimized as best we could. And then we started seeing not only, well, I mean, it's very difficult sometimes to lead source effectively when you start getting inquiries in. But for the most part, we were starting to get direct inquiries via landing pages from Instagram and all that kind of stuff. So we could start to see it working. And as soon as we started to see it was working, it's like, right, okay, we're getting closer to where we needed to be here. So we tweaked and tweaked and tweaked. And now we can generate a very decent proportion of direct inquiries. Maybe 20 to 25% of our inquiries, cold inquiries per month, will come from Insta, non-paid. And then we have sporadic paid campaigns on both Facebook and Instagram as well, and they will see a big boost on inquiry rate as well in that sense.
That's really good. So how many inquiries do you get then generally a month through your social media, and what sort of investment is that? What sort of return on investment do you get for that? So
that's a good question. I think roughly speaking, we get about 20 to 25 inquiries, almost one a day on average through socials. And of those, so in terms of a return on investment, some of that is paid and some of that is organic. And I think rough numbers, something around for every £1 that we spend, we get about £1.70 back in round numbers, something like that. So it works for us, but it has to work on scale. And the thing I always say to our marketing guys is we can never say, right, we're done. I think with these strategies, I think there's always more to be gained from it. You do get to the point where you're into the realm of marginal gains, and you can spend a lot of time, effort, and money for only a little bit more reward. You only get to a certain point, the curve just starts to flatten off. But I think getting somewhere near the top of that steep part of the curve is where any business can aspire to be, with the right sort of time, effort, and investment into the right strategy. As I say, we outsource most of our content creation, and that's just because we don't have a specialist internally. So it makes sense for us to do that. If we were to do it internally, then that return on our investment would obviously be far higher. So there's still room for improvement as far as I'm concerned in terms of how we could really squeeze more out of the lemon, so to speak.
And is there anything that hasn't worked when you've outsourced it, and that you've maybe brought back in?
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, we've outsourced a lot over the years to various different specialists, and sometimes it's just not a good fit. And I think the problem I've always had with marketing, I used to joke. It wasn't really a joke at the time. Looking back on it, I used to say marketing was just a fancy word for gambling, because you throw a load of money at a strategy, and there was no guarantee to me that would work or not.
Yeah.
There was no solid return on it. I love all these analytics that you can now get, whether it be Google or whatever. In terms of analytics, you can be so precise. You spend your whole life looking at a Google dashboard. It's so complicated.
Yeah.
I like that. I like numbers. I like graphs.
I've spent all morning looking at all my data. Yeah, I love it. A bit of a data.
It's not for everyone, but for me, you boil it all down, distill it down at the end of the month, and if everything's going up, then things are all right. Whereas. And I think actually once Facebook, once Instagram, and once all your social platforms put those sort of analyses in place, it allowed us to really dig down into the whys and what's working, what isn't working, why is it working, why isn't it working. And that for me becomes tangible again. It becomes, okay, that's not working because of X, Y, Z. Let's try this. The only thing I would say is you've got to be very careful in terms of A/B testing things. If you change lots of things at once, you don't really know what's affected change. Change single things and then test them. It can take time. I think that's the thing that people don't necessarily realize with socials, is they think it's Facebook and they're used to this sort of instant gratification kind of platform. And it's actually not like that. The strategy that you implement on any of these social platforms can take ages to get them right. It can take years to get them right, even with great expertise and lots of time. So patience, I think, is a really important virtue that we could all have more when we're dealing with Facebook or Instagram or socials for business, particularly. And don't just think of it as, I'm going to throw 50 quid at this or 100 quid at this or 500 quid at this, and it will yield X. You're never going to get it right first time. So more and build it up.
And it's about using that spend to test things, isn't it? And to go, right, okay, well, I spent 50 quid on that. That's not worked. So I won't be spending any more money on that bit. So then let's try this bit. And I think, like you sort of mentioned earlier when you were talking about the live streams, any new tools and functions that come out on social media, it's really important to jump on those and use them. So Reels, for example, is coming to Facebook. Not yet available here in the UK, but it's coming. And as soon as that comes out, it's just like, if businesses jump on that, you get a much better return on investment.
Even on Instagram, Reels have been around for a little while now, but even on Instagram, if you do Reels, like our engagement and our reach is just off the charts compared with other forms of posting. And again, I'm a bit of a stick in the mud and I don't like change. So when things come through, I'm always a bit reluctant to throw myself onto like a new way of using Facebook or whatever. But actually, as you say, you've got to do it.
Yeah. So from cynic then, so were you just about to give up on social media, or I know you
did multiple times.
Did you? Yeah. You're just like, nope, we're not doing it.
It got so shoved so far down the list of things that we had to do that we just stopped doing it.
And was it kind of the coronavirus really hitting that just made you think, right, okay, this is the only way to get
in fact, it was before that. It was about Q4 2019, the last few months of 2019. We sort of threw a bit more, because we've got two sides. That business was B2B and B2C. The B2C stuff in events was one-time clients, weddings, bar mitzvahs, private events, whatever. So you don't tend to get repeat business from those. So every single sale that you made was a brand new one. On the B2B stuff was very different. We didn't feel that socials really was necessarily the right route to market for us for the B2B, because it's all about relationship building, something slightly different. And once you got those clients, you had accounts that you just managed and you had them every year and all that kind of stuff. But with the B2C stuff, we really needed new clients, new inquiries all the time. So we spent a lot of time in that quarter, just sort of before the pandemic, really, just getting our ducks in a row and starting to really get things right, both between socials and PPC on Google has been really good for us as well. Between the two, they dovetail pretty nicely. So we felt we were just getting it right, and then March 2020, the world fell on its head. But actually, because I think that investment that we put in before the pandemic put us in good stead, really, because if it wasn't for that, because our B2B sector disappeared completely, overnight, it just switched off. And if it wasn't for the fact that we had a good foothold in the B2C market, thanks to our strategy on marketing, and thanks to the fact that we knew what we were doing a little bit by that point, we were then really, really leveraged that position. It was the B2C sector that kept us going through the pandemic, certainly in the early days of the pandemic as well.
So in summary then, Adam, what would be your top tips to any sort of new business who's maybe using social media, not getting much return on investment, or just starting out on that social media journey?
So I think the first thing is just show up every single day, post something. Doesn't matter. Don't get hung up too much about what it is. Just post something and you'll find your own voice. Try and just be your own voice, particularly if you're an SME or you're a sole trader. Be yourself. Don't try and be corporate. Don't try and be who you think you should be on socials. Be yourself, and people will relate to that, and show up every single day. The second tip would be seek help from someone who knows what they're doing if you want to save time and save money in the long run. It feels like a big burden to be faced with an invoice every month where you can't afford it. But if you get that right, that's a good investment, and that will pay dividends later down the line. They're the big ones for me.
Yeah. And obviously, if you need training, give me a shout. Oh, well, thanks, Adam. It's been really interesting hearing about your journey of social media. I will share your details in the chat now. So if anyone wants to get in touch, please do give Adam a shout. All his details are in there. Follow him on Instagram. Have a look. Follow him on Instagram and Facebook. Have a look what Northern Powerhouse Media are doing. They're doing something right. So do have a look and learn. It's all about learning off each other, isn't it? And learning off those mistakes. So thank you very much. Again, if you've watched this, please do give this video a thumbs up. We would really appreciate it. Any comments, please do post them in the chat. Again, if you're watching this on catch up, ask any questions in the chat below. More than happy to come back and answer those. And in the meantime, have a great week, everybody. I will be back next Monday at 12:30 live, sharing more social media tips and advice. And again, have a great week, everybody. And thank you so much, Adam. It's been a real pleasure. Thanks, everybody. Bye.